Hello Internet! So I'm going to have a little talk to you today about the smallest solo game in my collection, and that is Ultra Tiny Epic Galaxies, Scott Alm's game of intergalactic conquest. It's from Gamelyn Games, and it's a shrunk down version of the already Tiny Epic Galaxies. They do a whole range of Tiny Epic games: Tiny Epic Pirates, Tiny Epic Zombies, Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, Tiny Epic Tactics, all sorts, loads of them. But a couple of them they've made in this Ultra Tiny edition. This, and I think it's Ultra Tiny Kingdoms is the other one. But it doesn't take any of the game rules away, just shrinks down the components into this tiny little box. And for comparison, this is the box next to a normal playing card. It's a bit thicker than a normal deck of cards and only slightly bigger than a normal set of bridge cards. Here's some dice, just a normal biro. This thing is tiny. Chuck it in your pocket, take it with you anywhere, and have a good game. And it's not just a solo game, it's also an up to 5-player game, which includes one of the expansions, the satellites and super weapons. So, for a tiny little box, there's a whole lot of game in here. So, let's get it open and have a look at the components. So this is everything that comes inside that tiny little box. Of course, you've got your little instruction booklet, tells you how to play the game, all the components included on it. You've got some loads of cards. So you've got the super weapon cards for the expansion. Like I said, this doesn't work in solo, so I haven't actually used these yet. And you've got to go with it, you've got all these counters for satellites. Don't need them, so let's get them out of the way. You've got secret mission cards, which are again used in the multiplayer mode. So the whole point of the game is to be the first person to get 21 points, 21 victory points. But these give you extra little chances to get victory points. This one you gain 2 if you have 3 energy and 3 culture at the end of the game. Gains 2 if you've not got any ships on your galaxy card, so they're all out on planets. But all sorts of extra little ways to get bonus points. And every player will get one, and it'll be a secret. So, although you think you're close to winning, this may tip the balance. Here's your dice actions card, which shows what all the different dice rolls do, and how many of them have you used. So this is handy because the core of the game is dice rolling, and you've got these teeny tiny dice here. And depending on how far advanced your civilization is, depends on how many spaceships you've got and how many dice of these dice you can roll each turn. And each die roll gives you a different possible action, whether it's acquiring energy, or acquiring culture, or advancing your vessels, moving your ships around, or improving your empire, or using a planet. So, for each of the 5 different players, you've got one of these cards, and this has a track around it for seeing how much energy and how much culture you have, a track for how advanced your empire is, what level it's at, and this depends how many dice you get to each turn and how many ships you've got live. And for each level you get more victory points. So if you've got a level 6 civilization, you've already got 8 victory points, so you only need to get another 13 worth of victory points from planets that you've captured. On each planet, each player has a different set of their own counters for marking on these tracks the civilization, culture, energy, and your 4 spaceship pieces. And along with it is a huge stack of planet cards. Now, each one of these, generally you only have 4 out at a time, or well, you have the amount of players you've got plus 2, but 4 if you're playing solo. And these are all the different planets you can visit, and some of them you can go into orbit, and when you've completed the orbit track with one of your ships, you capture the planet. Or you can land on the planet, and that will give you a chance to use their special powers. This, you can put an enemy ship back 1 pace in orbit. This card lets you advance some of your culture planets. Diplomacy planets. Some of the planets are economic, which have this little economy track, and some of them are diplomacy, you have this diplomacy track. And some of your dice rolls affect economic planets and moving around there, and some of your things affect diplomacy planets and moving on there. So for the solo mode, however, this play aid flips over and you go to a rogue galaxy game, which shows you how the AI should act when they have different dice rolls, how the human player can respond to things, and their dice activation bay for showing what you've done with each dice through the turn. And on the back of each of the player cards are rogue galaxy cards in various levels. So there's beginner, easy, medium, hard, and epic. I've completed all of them except the epic one, so I might give that one a play today. But this tracks, much like the players, it tracks their levels, how far advanced their civilization is, and the colony actions. So when a colony action dice is rolled, what effect it has. So for example, this will take 1 energy off the player on the first level, but if they're more advanced, it'll steal 1 energy and 1 culture, advancing their tracks. And every time they go over the top of the track, then their civilization increases. And when you finally get to the top, that's it, game over, you've lost. But yeah, so there's a lot of variety in the game, even in solo mode. And, you know, it all comes down into this tiny little box. When you can pack it away in such a small space, if you're going on holiday, you can take this, entertain you and the kids. Or if you're going away on a business trip and you might be bored in the hotel room, chuck this in the small pocket of your bag, and you've got plenty of entertainment to play with. The game itself is so fun as well. It's not just, it's quite random because it's all based on what you roll. So, so you're starting out and you can only roll 4 dice. You know that those are the 4 actions you can take that turn. You can use some of your saved, and if you've got energy saved on your track, you can use that for re-rolling. If you've got culture saved on the track, you can spend 1 to copy what the opponent's doing each time. But these random rolls decide how you can act that turn. So there's a lot of, the order you do things in can have a huge effect, and just the random chance of it means that even if you've got great plans for something, it might not always pan out. So, there's a lot of variety, and, this is even without the expansion, but getting 5 friends around, go down the pub or whatever, and you bring this along, and you can have a great little game between the lot of you. The only real issues with it is the size of these tiny little cubes. I mean, compare them to just a normal size D6. These things are absolutely minuscule. So when you're rolling them, they're easy to lose track of. These little things, they can get lost quite easily if you're not careful. So you wouldn't be able to play it on, say, like the table on a plane or something, but a lot of places you can. So yeah, all in all, it's a really good, tiny game. It's not the smallest board game I own, but it's the smallest one with a true built-in solo mode. So yeah, I'm probably going to have a little play against try and beat the epic opponent now, and I might give you a little bit of a montage of my game in action. Well, I tried. Once again, the epic enemy has beaten me. This is the hardest mode of the solo game, so it's not surprising. I did manage to get up to 12 victory points, but I was really struggling to advance my civilization, so I was only rolling 4 dice most of the game. That's because every time I did build up my energy or culture, they'd managed to either reduce it or steal it from me. And their other action of pushing me back for every vessel still here was quite effective for them. So, although I did my best, this epic galaxy has got such a short track to build up to advance their civilization. They were shooting up, and I mean, any second now they were going to win anyway. But they were rolling 6, 7 dice before you knew it. So yeah, it's a good game that I really do enjoy. It's simple. The rules are easy to understand, but there's so much variety in the different planets, the different tracks to follow, all the different special abilities of the planets. It makes for a great solo experience, and 5 people can have fun out of this tiny little box, and you will have a great time. I think this cost me £13, maybe £14 when I picked it up from Entoyment. And I'll tell you what, value for money. Drop me a little note in the comments if you've got any questions about this game, or if you've got your own tiny solo game that you want to share with me. That's it for now. Happy gaming!